Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Big Week in Buckeye, or Big Week Buckeye. Wow, you think I got yesterday on my mind, everybody? Big Week in Cleveland Browns weekly preview. We are in week 15. So we are just 3 weeks left in the NFL season, and hopefully for the Browns, we will get to that next level and be playing in the playoffs come January. So, before I dive into a quick review of last week, I tripped up on the first word saying Buckeye because of yesterday. So I'm going to put in a couple of minute review of yesterday, the Big Ten Championship game against Northwestern. And first things first, hats off to Northwestern. They played a heck of a ball game yesterday, holding Ohio State to 22 points and keeping them out of the end zone for the first time in a full half since Purdue 2 years ago, which was like the biggest fluke game this college football program has seen in many a year. So let's start from the beginning as Ohio State took the opening drive right down and punched it in. And then there was the holding call. They settled for a field goal. Northwestern goes down, punches one in for 6, get the extra point to make it 7-3 Northwestern. They get another field goal during the first half, and Ohio State finds itself in the same position it was in by far less points last year in the Big Ten Championship game against Wisconsin. They go into halftime of the title game down a score. Last year it was 2. So they come out in the second half, and right away Northwestern's tearing down the field. And I'm sitting in my chair, which is right in front of the table I record at, and I'm saying to myself, what is going on here? This isn't supposed to happen. Now, mind you, both Joe and I made our predictions on Friday night. Again, shout out to Joey from Cleveland Me for jumping on Facebook and telling me what he thought the final score was going to be. Joe and I made our predictions before we found out that Ohio State would be without 22 players and several coaches for the Big Ten Championship game due to being on the COVID reserve list. The biggest thing missing for Ohio State was wide receiver Chris Olave. Garrett Wilson became the primary target. He also became the guy that they were going to put all the emphasis on in the passing game. But a funny thing happened on the way to Northwestern's first Big Ten championship since 1996. Trey Sermon happened. The grad transfer from Oklahoma after Master Teague was injured early in the game straight balled out. 29 carries. An Ohio State single game and Big Ten championship game record, 331 yards rushing. This man was on a different planet. But when a running back gets a huge game like that, it's not just the running back. Number one, let me start here. I sat in my chair here. My wife went in our bedroom to do stuff on her laptop. She has a small business she runs off of it. My mother-in-law sat in our glider rocking chair, and we watched the entire game. And I was screaming at the television, stop throwing the football. You are running it down their throat. Run the ball. And I don't know if I was loud enough. I don't know if my wife agreeing with me from the other room to try and keep me quiet was loud enough. But Ryan Day got the message, and Trey Sermon went off. Ohio State took the lead with a little over 3 minutes left in the third quarter and never looked back. They forced the phenomenal... It's not Clayton Thorson, it's Peyton. Clayton Ramsey. It's Peyton Ramsey. I'm sorry. Clayton Thorson was the quarterback before him, so I kind of mixed him up. Peyton Ramsey was outstanding in the first half. He was basically flawless in the first half. This guy showed out in the first half, and then Ohio State's defense took over. Took over to the point where they were getting pressure almost every down, and they weren't blitzing. This was their front seven, being the dominant front seven I thought they could be going into this game. So now, Ohio State is running the football, playing defense, controlling the line of scrimmage, like I had said, which they did not do in the first half, and it sparks them to a 16-point second half, and they shut Northwestern out to end the game at 22-10, win their 4th consecutive Big Ten championship, and yes, my hat has already been ordered. Because I get the locker room hat every year since 2017. So I have 17, 18, 19, and 20. 2014, when they won the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin, I didn't order a Big Ten hat. I ordered the championship hat when they won the whole thing. So here's where we are. At noontime today, at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday the 20th right now. I will post this today, obviously, before the Browns play tonight, but just couldn't go live today. At noontime today, in roughly 1 hour and 36 minutes, we will find out what the Final Four for the college football playoff will be. If Big Rican is making a prediction after what happened yesterday with Alabama barely getting by Florida, Notre Dame getting shellacked by Clemson, and of course, Oklahoma wins the Big 12. I believe USC won the Pac-12 on Friday night. Hold on. Oregon won another Pac-12 championship on Friday night. So your Power 5 champions, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Oregon, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. I don't believe it will be the Big 12 or the Pac-12 champion getting in the playoff. So if I had to make my guess, your number 1 will be Alabama. Your number 2 will be Clemson. Your number 3 should, and I believe will be, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and number 4 will be Ohio State, which sets this up this way. Ohio State will go to the Sugar Bowl to play Alabama for the second time in the playoff history, and Notre Dame will play Clemson in a winner-take-all 2-3 Rose Bowl, which is in Texas this year because of COVID restrictions in California. In the Rose Bowl, in that semifinal, that third meeting. So we'll see who delivers the knockout blow. These are two teams who are going to be well familiar with each other. Excuse me. So let's see who gets the rubber match in the Sugar Bowl. The only thing I think that could mess this up is if they really put too much stock in Notre Dame losing yesterday. What Ohio State did last year in running the table and beating Wisconsin twice in the same season is not an easy thing to do because the teams know your tendencies. Ohio State really did not do the things they normally did last year against Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship game and still found a way to win. That's what champions do. Same thing yesterday. This was a pass-heavy team that when the chips were down knew they had to run the football. So I go from one review to another, and that is last week's Monday Night Football game between the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens in what is being called the Game of the Year. What a phenomenal game. I actually stayed up for the entire game. It was outstanding. So why am I talking with such reverence about a game that my team lost? This is why. There are 3 things that were answered in this game. 1, if you get Baltimore down by multiple scores, you're going to beat them because the Browns never got up by more than a score. 2, the Browns defense has some serious holes that need to be tended to, but can be fixed with people coming back from injury. We get Denzel Ward back today. Ronnie Harrison should be pretty close. Hopefully Greedy can suit up one of the last 2 weeks. Having them makes it easier on the front 7, which, by the way, the defensive line did not play bad at all on Monday night. It was more the secondary, a lot of missed tackles, a lot of blown assignments. Because at the end of the day, the Cleveland Browns could not stop they couldn't stop a nosebleed if it wasn't being thrown in the air on Monday night. But here's the positives. The second question that was answered. Can the Browns come back from multiple scores? That answer is yes. Being down 24-10 at one point in time and coming back not only to tie it, but to take the lead and then lose the lead there, get it tied again late in the game on a great drive by the Browns offense, and unfortunately come up short on a 55-yard. I don't count the safety. I know it was part of the scoring, but that safety didn't mean anything. The Browns had no timeouts. They had, I think it was 4 seconds left on the clock. That was a desperation thing. I don't count that. I mean, granted, the final was 47-42, but no, that wasn't part of what went right or wrong for the Cleveland Browns on Monday night. But here is the most important question that has been asked for 3 seasons, and it was answered emphatically on Monday night. Is Baker Mayfield a franchise quarterback? Well, ladies and gentlemen, he answered it, and he most certainly is. Baker Mayfield balled out. Now, he threw a bad interception that turned into another touchdown for Baltimore. But from that point on, he was flawless. 2 touchdown passes in the second half, at part of the third quarter and the end of the game, and a rushing touchdown. Baker was lights out on Monday night against the number 3 or 4 defense in the league. So my questions, I've always been a Baker believer. My questions about Baker Mayfield have been answered, and they were answered emphatically. So where does that leave us now? Well, that leaves us with this week, trying to get to 10-4 and trying to get the playoff berth secured. Who do we got this week? We have the New York Football Giants in the first of the 2-week New York trip for the Browns as they take on the Giants this Sunday night, which, by the way, for the first time that I can remember, the Browns were flexed into a primetime game, not out of. So the Giants and Browns will play tonight from MetLife Stadium. Going to be cold. It's freezing here in upstate New York. I'm afraid to go outside, but got to. So what are the keys to the game tonight? Well, here's a first key. It's not Daniel Jones, and it's not Jason Garrett. We're going to see some old friends tonight in New York, or in New Jersey, because for those who don't know, MetLife Stadium, or the Big Snoopy, as we like to call it, is in East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the swamp. Maybe where Jimmy Hoffa is. Don't know. So from New Jersey tonight, it's going to be cold. It's going to be possibly, I saw some weather happening. A little bit of snow showers. I don't know what's going to be down there. I know that's what I'm supposed to get up here. So what are the keys to tonight's game? Well, again, it's not Danny Dimes. It's an old friend. It's Colt McCoy, the quarterback of the Browns from 2010 through 2013, who made 31 starts and played pretty good. He didn't play bad as a member of the Browns. Ohio State fans will remember him as the quarterback at Texas. We lost a bowl game and I think a regular season game 2 years ago. But it's the other old friend that we run into that is going to be the one that will garner most of the attention. And tonight, the play caller on offense for the New York Giants will be none other than former Browns head coach Freddie Kitchens. All the jokes were made is, oh, look, Freddie's been calling plays against the Browns for a couple of years. Well, let's go back to 2018, which no one wanted to talk about. Freddie was a primary play caller after the dismissal of both Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson, and it was his relationship with Baker and his relationship with that offense that really made John Dorsey's choice in keeping him on as the head coach. It was a bad choice, as it turned out, but no one knew that going in. We thought the relationship between Baker and Freddie was going to get us to the promised land in that second year. Didn't work out that way. But then again, if it worked out that way, we may not have Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. If it did not blow up like it did, we wouldn't have Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. And I think that's more of a win for the Browns than it is a loss for last season. So here we go. I said it yesterday. I've said it every week since I started doing pregame shows. The Cleveland Browns need to control the line of scrimmage. And here is where they have maybe the biggest advantage they've had all year. The New York Giants offensive line, is not very good. They took a left tackle at the top of the draft, which, if you watched my draft reaction with Frank from Clubhouse Sports, you know that we were shocked at who it was. We had thought it would be Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton. It wasn't. It was the kid from Georgia, whose name is escaping me right now, but that's not important. Look, the Giants' offensive line has gotten Daniel Jones hammered for the last 2 years. And last week against Arizona, they gave up 6 sacks between the two quarterbacks. Colt McCoy is not what he used to be. He's not as mobile. So look for the Browns' defensive line, which is one of their big strong points, to really eat today and have a good day. Former Giant Olivier Vernon, who did nothing but take heat when he was in New York, comes back, and he has been on fire. Myles Garrett, in his second game back from COVID, will be better as he gets farther away from having been ill. Sheldon Richardson, Larry Ogunjobi have been playing phenomenal up the middle. This is an advantage if the Browns exploit it the way I think they can. This is going to be a long night for Big Blue. Now, I'm saying these things, and my mother-in-law's in the other room probably ready to just slap me around because she's a big Giant fan. But this is how it lays out. If you look at the way things go, if you go to ESPN and you look at their preview, they are talking about the Browns being able to exploit the lack of cohesive play on the Giants' offensive line. So what does that mean for the rest of the defense? That means with the return of Denzel Ward, the Browns should be able to cover a little bit deeper into plays because it's going to be Denzel face up on Golden Tate. Evan Engram is a great piece, but I think your linebacking core and the rest of your defensive backs can take care of him. This is where the Browns are going to have to eat, is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Why do I say it like that? Because the Giants' defense is legit. Went up to Seattle and beat the Seahawks in their house. Not many teams do that. Not even the ones that play them multiple times a year. So here's where the Browns can really make some noise on the offensive side of the ball. Hint, hint. Control the line of scrimmage. Keep Baker clean. And let the running backs eat. You learned it yesterday with Trey Sermon. When you can run the football, you can control the game and dictate how you want to do things. That kid was lights out yesterday, and he is nowhere near what Kareem Hunt coming out of school at Toledo and Nick Chubb coming out of school at Georgia even were then. No disrespect to Trey Sermon, but Chubb and Hunt were on a different level apparently because now they're in the NFL doing their thing, and they are phenomenal. I think this is going to be another one of those games that just a few weeks ago got Baker and people running their mouth about him. He's not a franchise quarterback. He's a game manager. All he does is turn around and hand the ball off. Well, turn around and handing the ball off gets him to 10-4. I don't know many Cleveland Browns fans that wouldn't take it. Because that's the goal. Get into the playoffs. That is exactly what tonight is about. Just taking a look at it quick. The Browns are a road favorite at giving the Giants 6.5 points. That means Vegas thinks the Browns can win this thing by just about a touchdown. I, too, think the Browns will win this game tonight. And I picked them in my picks, wherever they may be. So here's how else the Browns can take advantage of this. The Giants are missing their best cover corner, which means now you have to slide the other guy over to Jarvis, and you're going to see a lot more of Jabril Peppers, former Brown, involved in the Odell Beckham trade. You're going to see him having to cover a lot more. I think Hooper and Bryant and Njoku, or Hooper and Njoku, or Hooper and Bryant, whoever plays at tight end, is also going to be a big factor in this game. Not just in the running game, but they're going to be able to catch balls too. So where does that leave the Browns after this week? Well, that leaves the Browns hopefully at 10-4, going into a game against the Jets, which should get them to 11 wins, but we'll preview that one for next weekend. I will come back at some point this week with a reaction to the College Football Playoff Committee, probably Monday night. Probably. But it's Christmas week, guys, so you may not hear from me until Sunday when I preview the Jets and the Browns. That show may be a little longer if I throw the college football playoff preview into it, and also get to discuss a little bit of Cleveland Cavaliers basketball, which actually opens on Tuesday night. Cavs and Hornets, I believe. Off topic. Fun fact. Did you know that in 2K21, you can actually play the scheduled games of the day in the game? So let me look here. Cavaliers open on Wednesday the 23rd at 7 p.m. at home at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse against the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball. So we're going to get to you some Cavaliers reaction and a look at the Cavaliers roster in that reaction portion of the show. Going to get you to Browns pregame next week and a preview of the college football playoff, which, thank God, is on New Year's Day. You'll get the Rose Bowl game, which is going to come from AT&T Stadium in Dallas in the afternoon. And, of course, the nightcap, I think it's going to be a rematch of the 2015 Rose Bowl between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Crimson against Scarlet. It's going to sell tickets. It's going to be a great game. As always, Big Rican can be found here on YouTube, on Facebook, Big Rican on Sports, on Google, Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Rocket, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. Twitter at Big Rican on Sport. Remember, this is episode number 90. I want to say 93. This is episode number 93. We are 7 episodes away from the Big Rican 100th episode extravaganza, which will be a debate live on both Facebook and YouTube. Who's the GOAT? What's the criteria for the GOAT conversation? And I'll give you my criteria for the GOAT conversation between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I have been teasing this episode for several weeks. I have several people who are wanting to watch, listen, and participate in this episode, and I can't wait to actually bring it to you. I don't script many of these. I'm scripting this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look for that. We're going to get that after the first of the year, probably closer to my birthday in January. Have a great Sunday. Go Dogs. We'll see you next week.